As we light our chalice, you may want to pause and light your own candle at home, or just open to light in your heart and your mind and your body as we recite our chalice lighting from the Passover Haggadah. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of Life.
Unison affirmation of covenant and mission. Our covenant is to be a loving, joyful community that nurtures spiritual growth, promotes compassion, social responsibility, and service in an atmosphere of mutual trust. Our mission is to be a faith community devoted to love and respect, reason, and justice.
Even though we are apart, we have another opportunity to participate together as we hold our joys and sorrows, those celebrations and concerns we all have for those we love, those we know, and so much lately, even for the whole nation and the wide world. This morning, what are your joys? What are your sorrows?
Okay.
Hi, UU Church of Meadville. My name is Carolyn Brown. Some of you have seen me before. I've come the past 2 summers to do a art form session for you. Today we are going to be doing art again. I'm going to teach you how to stipple. Stippling is also sometimes known as pointillism, or if you want to be generic, it's dot art. So simply what you're going to need is a piece of paper and a pen. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to find those two items. It can be a sticky note, it can be a piece of tablet paper, computer paper, it can be the back of a bill, just a piece of paper you need, preferably clear, without writing, so that you have something to draw on. And you can use a pencil if you want. It's best to use a ballpoint pen, or I actually like these little, it's kind of like a gel pen. These are the best. You can get 2 for $1 at the Dollar Tree. I love these for grading. I love these for the stippling, but you can use a Sharpie, you can use a marker. Crayons, not so great. You kind of want something that's going to bleed into the paper a little bit, not run, but that's going to leave its mark. So if you can look around real quick, find that piece of paper and that drawing utensil, that would be great. While you're getting those materials, a little bit about stippling. It dates back to the 1500s. There are 5 key artists that really started taking this on, and then it has just kind of grown through the years. It actually kind of turned into tattooing. It has the same concept of various little pinpricks that puts a piece of art onto your body. So if you have any tattoos, I have a couple myself, and you've experienced that, that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So to give you an idea of what stippling is, I just used a dry erase board and put on a couple designs. This one's not really completed, but you can see half of it is a little bit darker, and I have not finished this side, just so that you can see the transition of a very simple outline to adding more dots to make it more detailed. There's another one that I started of a little kitty cat and just did an outline using dots, and then started adding more dots to add more detail to make it come alive. And then here's one got scratched a little bit. My cat actually walked on a couple of these. But you can use marker and use colors if you want to use colors. You get this same concept of changing the values of the colors. As you add more dots, it gets darker. This one could actually stand to be added more to it, actually all of them. But again, as you see, you are adding several dots to get the darker values and shades. Okay, so to get ourselves started, you have a sheet of paper and your tool that you want to work with. I think I'm going to use a dry erase board first and just grab a marker because it will be easier for you to see. It's best to have something that is not like this. This is like a flat marker. It's better to have something that is more rounded or pointed, like a sharp pen, like I said, would be best. But for demonstration purposes, we're going to use this rounded dry erase marker. So if you want to draw yourself a rectangle and divide it into thirds, doesn't have to be perfect, and picture this as your practice sheet. You're simply going to take your marker and put some dots. Now, or pen. Now, you really don't want to have like marks that are kind of going like this. The point is to actually get pointillism or stippling. Okay, so if I was doing this on the table, it would be, easier. But again, thinking as if you are a tattoo artist and you are doing that outlining and then filling in, that's exactly what it does. So we have 3 sections because we're going to change the value or the darkness of them as we go across, but we kind of wanted to fill it in so that it's even at this point. So right now they're all pretty even in color. So this is going to be your basic grayscale. So we want to turn it to the middle one to make it a little bit darker. So obviously we're just going to add more dots. So you really want to try to not overlap the dots, but really go in between the dots, because that allows it to fill in more space rather than leaving dark areas that aren't evenly dispersed. And so I've filled in my dots in between, and you should be able to see that it got darker because it's more condensed. Okay, and then we're going to do the same one for the third one. So we fill that in, and the second and the third are going to look very similar, but then we'll go one stage further to make it even darker. And again, this is just us practicing to get the skill. Okay, so those look pretty balanced at this point. It might be a little bit darker, but we're going to go ahead and go on that third phase and fill in even more in the white spaces as much as you can. Something that I find about this technique is that when you're sitting by yourself, it's pretty relaxing. You can play some music, light some candles, sit in silence. You know, it kind of lets you get your feelings and emotions out. Maybe you're mad, so you want to stipple a little harder. Maybe you just want to kind of get in a zone, and so you've got a pattern, almost a beat. It's not about speed either. I mean, you can definitely go slower as you're filling them in. But, so now you've got 3 shades or values, and you can see that it took a little bit more time to fill in the darker spot, but it's simply all done with dots. Dot art, stippling, or pointillism. Pointillism is actually usually referred to when they're using paint. Okay, so coming up with a design that we want to do, we're going to start with the basics. So if you were doing like a basic drawing, you got an apple. I did some thatching, which is like crisscrossy, and it's still pretty flat. Doesn't really show any dimension. Maybe shows, you know, I left these white spots to kind of show that it had some sun or light maybe on it, but it doesn't show shape. But by using the stippling, you know, it kind of lets you add the shading. You know, we've got these waves. You almost can see some movement. The balloon, you can see, you know, that it's got more of a roundy shape, and, you know, the light hitting it. So we're going to do something with this. We've just done the 3 phases to kind of show the values. But we're going to do a sunshine today. So with that piece of paper that you have in a blank spot, or if you have a new piece of paper, that's fine. We are going to start by making a circle. So this is what we're going to work on first. So you need your piece of paper. You can actually do a smaller one if you want to do smaller, because the bigger you make it, the more stippling you have to do. So if you want to start basic, just make a little circle, maybe this size. Also, if you're wanting to do more detailed pictures, but you know, I'm a visual person. If I see it, I can usually draw it. I'm not one that's like, I'm going to draw a monkey and I can just draw it. But if I can see it, I can do it. That's how my mind works. But if you want to have a picture on your phone, pull it up, or you have a laptop or something, that's fine. To start basic, you can use a coloring book page. So if there's any kids watching, get a coloring book and start practicing on the picture that's already colored for you or drawn for you. I think that's a great way. You don't even have to be a kid to do that, because I love coloring. If you want to use a coloring book page as a stencil or an outline and place it behind your paper, and in a window, outline it, and then voila, you've got your own outline, and then do your stippling. That makes you like an instant artist, and it's only a little bit of cheating. So, okay, so we're going to start with making a circle. And I got all my stuff piled up here. Simply by tapping our tool that we've chosen, whether it was a pen or a marker. You could use pencil, like I said. But we're making a circle. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can turn your paper as you're going, or you can hold it still. And so you've got your circle, and if, like I said, if you want to do a smaller circle, you know, half that size, that's totally fine. So start by making your circle. And now you're basically going to make a little bit size smaller inside, almost like a double layer, a frame. You can see. You can pause this video anytime you want. I'm going to actually pretend it's like a cooking show, and you know how they put it in the oven and then all of a sudden they're pulling it out. I have several drawings of the same thing, but in phases, to be able to skip ahead, to save you some time as well. But then, like I said, you can pause it, do your work, and then continue. So you've got your double outline. And now you just want to fill in between there. And, you know, you can go out of the line a little bit. It's okay. Because we're really just making an outline of our sun. And the sun is obviously not a perfect line, circle. But it kind of gives us a guide to have that double line. You can probably hear my tapping. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear my neighbor mowing their yard. Sorry. My door's open. So I've got my circle stippled. And I'm going to switch to this one because it's a little bit darker and filled in more. So again, if you need to pause, do this part, do that. So the next part is, I don't just want my sun to be completely white on the inside. So I'm going to go around the inside circumference and put some dots. Around the circle. And I'm gonna fill in a little bit more, but I definitely don't want it to be dark like the edge. This is kind of like how we did that the value rectangle thing where it phases in. We're going to phase into a lighter color onto the inside. Clear to nothing, like a little spot in the middle that's blank, and then it's going to blend. You can even get like a little pattern with your dots. Okay. So I feel like I need a little bit more. So I'm just filling in a bunch of dots around the inside edge, but not all the way in because I want it to transition or fade. Okay. And I might even do a little bit more, just, you know, right on the edging between those spaces to get a little bit in between those dots, just to kind of blend it a little more. And like I said, there's no right or wrong. You can always add more and darken it, and the only thing is you can't lighten it. So it's best to add a little bit, look at it, add a little bit, look at it, decide how you want it. But again, there's no right or wrong. Okay, so, and you can always go back to this stage too. So I'm going to stop right here. And the next thing that I want to do, and you can pause if you need to, is to start adding some of my flames that are going to go around my sun. So you might want to think about evenly spacing it, like one at the top, one at the bottom, one on the side, and then split it. That's fine. And then maybe little ones in between. But again, you don't want to draw them. You want to dot them or stipple them. And you don't need them to be like perfect and symmetrical. Because obviously the sun is not perfect. So I'm just kind of adding, it's almost kind of like a flower. Actually, you could choose to turn this into a sunflower if you wanted to. So I've got my petals kind of dotted on. What's so great about stippling is you don't have to be perfect. You are just putting little dots. And so it's almost like you're sketching it out, and you're going to be adding more to it, so you can't really mess up, which is great. So we've added our outlines. I'm going to switch to my next phase. So I'm going from this, and I'm going to switch to this. One other thing that I added with this is that you can see that I added a line around the edge to kind of close my flames. I said petals earlier, but that's because we were talking about rose petals. And then I also added like some little detailed dots just for fun, like maybe some sun's rays that are coming out. So with this, again, you're going to see if I can get closer. Use your pen and stipple the bottoms of each of your flames where you're leaving that little white margin. That way it will pop out when you're looking at it at the end. So you can go around there, and then you'll also do the same thing all the way around the top. And this, I need to be with my pen this way because when it's up, it's not really dotting well. So go around each of your flame petals, whatever you want to call them, and stipple the outline of each one. So it's getting a little bit darker. You can see already just those two, how they're darker than the others. So this would be where you pause, and this is my outline all the way around. So this gives you the opportunity to decide, do I want to leave it like this? Do I want to come inward on my flames like I did on the center of the ball? of the sun. Do I want to add anything in the background? But again, this is what we're coming up with. I'll do one or two on here, and then you can decide how you want to do yours. So I'm just going to come inward a little bit, but not all the way to the center, so that you can kind of see that transition. Those values, so that the center kind of pops. And again, I mean, you can sit and do this while you're watching TV, while you're at a doctor's office, if it's a kid in the car traveling, sitting in the sun, just relaxing, just coming up with a little design that you want. And I mean, you saw that I did a little cat face. You can do a rainbow, you can do a balloon, you can do clouds. There's so many portraits that are amazing. And honestly, you will find that I think it's easier to draw doing this when you're trying to do little details. So here's half of this done with the pointillism. Oh, with the stippling, sorry, we're not using paint. So I appreciate you. Almost kind of looks like I could make a turtle. I appreciate you following along. You can go back and watch this and do phases. I challenge you to, create some different images besides the sun. Maybe you want to, like I said, I've already brushed this off a little bit. Try a sunflower. Try an animal. Try some color. And if you hate it, you can crunch it up, wipe it off, start over, start a new day. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.
Chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. May it be so. Peace, amen. Shalom. Blessed be. Namaste.